Thus, without further ado, Sara Whitford, Senior VP, Portfolio and Partnerships, and General Counsel for Exclusive Resorts. General Counsel, I guess I need to be extra careful with anything I say on this podcast. ExclusiveResorts.com, just like it sounds. Work less, play more. Life's too short for should haves. It's such a great moment and opportunity to be speaking with you, Sara, following up on the exceptional conversation that I had with your CEO, James Henderson, back on July 1st. I can't believe it's already been 3.5 months. How are you doing today, Sara, following up on our initial lovely conversation about Aspen and Telluride and whatnot, but how are you on this great Friday?
I am doing fantastic, and thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, thank you for that. It's a pleasure to speak with you. I can already tell this is going to be quite a great conversation. And thus, let's jump into it. We love exclusive resorts, love working with Sam or Samantha and Blake. You have such a great team there. Exclusive resorts, private membership club with over 4,300 members, 400 homes and experiences, and over 75 of the world's most sought after destinations. I can go on and rattle off bullet points, yet it takes you being the senior VP of portfolio and partnerships, and general counsel, really describe what exclusive resorts is, especially at this unique moment in time when, and I'll, you know this, but to say it's people are not only traveling more, yet they're wanting to experience travel more. They want to sink their teeth into it. They want to live it more than simply saying they did it, but really to be a part of it. And really, exclusive resorts is the epitome of being able to achieve that, correct?
I think that's absolutely correct. I think, like you said, people want to travel well. They want to immerse themselves. And that's the great thing about exclusive resorts. We've been operating for 20 years. We have these 400 homes and experiences. And our portfolio in our residence collection is, large 3 and 4 bedroom homes, in beach and, ski destinations, apartments in metropolitan destinations. And what that's giving people, what we've always given people, and what's really attracting people to it now is it gives you this ability to immerse yourself, into a community, and also to really surround yourself with the people that you love, your friends and family. You're not going to a hotel where when it's time for the kids to go to bed, everybody needs to go their separate ways and say good night. You have these homes with these communal spaces that allow for the time together that has become so important to people, as we come out of this pandemic and people, really having to be separated from the people that they love. And now they want to be with them. And I think one of the great things about exclusive resorts in our portfolio is giving families and friends that opportunity.
Very well said, and I love that you use the word immersive. And I think, it just reminded me of something that James and I discussed back in July and you just reminded me of it as you're describing it. And I think it's especially for our audience, the global audience that will be interested in exclusive resorts, is a good way to really capture the essence of it, whether you've done this or not, is an extremely luxurious yacht charter with your family, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things, you can do with exclusive resorts is an extremely luxurious yacht charter, like you said, or an around the world by private jet. We did one in 2020. We have our second one happening in October of this year, where we have, 75 exclusive resorts members spending 21 days traveling around the world on their own private jet. So
That's
that's
magnificent.
a real once in a lifetime experience for the people that are, lucky enough to experience that, and doing it as a part of our community. We have a community of like-minded members, and so we know there's a lot of people out there offering around the world by private jet trips, and the difference for this is our members get to travel within their community, and that is great, and they create relationships that will last them a lifetime.
And further, well said again, and further, they are staying at your exclusive resort communities, locations, luxury residences, etc. Correct? And that's such a differentiating key component, is that these are, you speak about the community, you speak about these, what your portfolio consists of, yet they're yours. And
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
no, go ahead. Continue.
No, I think that's absolutely right. They're ours, and our members view them as their own. Instead of having just a single second home that they can travel to, they really view it as having second homes all over the world. There's a comfort in knowing, and our members come in and they treat these homes like they're their own, because that's what they feel like, whether it's a place that they return to year after year because they built relationships up there and they've fallen in love with the destination and with our dedicated on-site concierge. I mean, we have people that will go back to a destination over and over because they have fallen in love with the concierge team there that is dedicated to helping them with their experience when they're there, and it feels like they're going to visit family. And of course they can always count on that the home is well designed, professionally furnished, has high end appliances, and is fully stocked with everything they need, so they can trust the quality and consistency of that, and then also the relationship piece.
Absolutely. I mean, it's literally like knowing you're going to, with your closest friends, family, whatever the design of said trip might be at the time, going to a 5-diamond home to a certain extent, or whatever it might be, where depending on your destination. And I love, you briefly mentioned it, and I think James, he described it so well with respect to the concierge team that one has once they become a member of exclusive resorts. And he was saying how, back when we spoke in July, that he hadn't been, he had just been working too much. He hadn't taken any time for vacation. And the concierge team was proactively saying, it's time for you, not as his position, but as a member of exclusive resorts, you need to take a vacation. And here's what we have. And consistently being, again, proactive to ensure that you are going to where you should perhaps consider going with exclusive resorts.
That's exactly right. And James is a great example because he does need to be pushed sometimes, which is funny for the CEO of a travel company. But every member of exclusive resorts has a vacation ambassador, which is their account manager, and this ambassador gets to know their families so well. I mean, and not just getting to know, we know when your birthday is and things like that.
Right.
They get to know what these people really want to experience in trips. They love to hike. They love to, go out and explore the culture of a community, whatever that might be. And they really help them to curate their experience over the course of their membership. And they will say, hey, you may not have thought of this destination. This may not have been on your radar, but I know you went here and you loved it, and I really know you're going to love this place. And so we'll introduce people to destinations that they may not have thought of. Sea Island, Georgia. If you're an East Coaster, Sea Island, Georgia is super familiar to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a West Coaster, maybe not so much.
Right.
An ambassador will, say to one of their California members, you're going to love this, the opportunities to do there, you can go and do skeet shooting and, be out on the water and experience the Cloister Hotel and golf, obviously, and bring members and introduce them to these new places. And members trust us to do that. And that's, one of the great things about the club.
And as these ambassadors get to know their members so well and their family, like really getting to know them, and then again further segueing into how you also offer marquee events. So they discover that James, for the sake of conversation, as they begin, as the relationship develops, they discover, oh, James happens to love, he happens to love horse racing. Well, we have exclusive resorts. One of our marquee events is the Kentucky Derby. Or James loves car racing. We have the Formula One, U.S. Tennis Open, wine tours, etc.
That's a key component. We do have these great marquee events. We just finished up a couple of weeks ago, New York Fashion Week, and brought a group of members to New York Fashion Week where they got to attend shows, meet with designers, do some great shopping experiences, all within their community. So you're right, and maybe that's the girls trip, or we do a golf academy at Sea Island, with golf pro, with professional golfers there to help people improve their game. Formula One was a great example for James. He has a background in Formula One, and we've done a few different Formula One events, and are offering more. And so we really hit the gamut. And you're right. The ambassadors will get so excited when the team announces, oh, this is what we're doing this year. Okay, we're doing Wimbledon this year, and they go, oh my God, my member's going to be so excited about this because my member loves Wimbledon or loves tennis or whatever it might be. They really know them and we'll give them that call or shoot them that email and say, hey, wanted to make sure you saw that announcement. This is definitely something you're going to want to be involved in.
That's so great. I mean, it really is like a family, or a familiar atmosphere, family atmosphere, and to have that, the trust, the quality, the consistency, the reliability, but to really have a team like that literally their entire goal is to ensure that you, as an exclusive resort member, to really their ultimate goal is for you to experience travel and life and experiences as much as possible. And that's the entire design of exclusive resorts.
Yeah, as much as possible and with as little stress as possible.
Right, right.
You arrive at the home, and you've been planning your trip, for weeks or months beforehand, depending on what kind of planner you are, and you get there, and your grocery shopping has been done, and the house has been fully stocked, and that the next night you've got the private chef coming, and the kid, you can put the kids in the kids club, or we've arranged for a babysitter, so it's really stress-free, so that members can do what they really disconnect if that's what they want, relax, spend that time with their loved ones, and it does all come from that relationship that they create with the ambassador. I once was at an event with a member where the ambassador had traveled. We were on the East Coast in New York, and this person's ambassador, who had been their ambassador for 10 years,
wow,
came to this event and met, and the member came up to me and said, and as they were meeting, and said, "This is my best friend that I've never met before."
That's sweet. That's so great. Oh, what a fantastic moment it is. But for them to have felt that and known that in their heart and soul without having actually met the ambassador in person. And to share a personal story, when I say, okay, Sarah, what's the exclusive resort excursion you've done that just is at the top of your list, and why?
Well, so I actually got married in 2015 at one of our properties in Real del Mar, Mexico, which is a property north of Puerto Vallarta. And so we did just a small family wedding on the beach there, and a nice celebration with a private chef dinner. When I say small family, I have a large family, so there was 30 of us, but just this wonderful event that occurred on the beach in one of our favorite places, surrounded by our family, with an amazing meal to follow, and the on-site team down in Real del Mar could not have been more amazing in helping us to plan this, because even a very small wedding is a wedding.
Yeah.
And finding a photographer, and getting us the chair, I mean, everything you need. And it was just such an amazing event, right on the beach there, that is probably my most special exclusive resorts memory.
That's a beautiful one, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
7 years too late, but congratulations.
Thank you.
And I would imagine, complete side question. It's not a focus, of course, of what you do, but I would imagine that's such a great opportunity for members to utilize exclusive resorts for weddings.
Yeah, we help with weddings. We see also a lot of engagements. Obviously, the engagement has become a big event, in these days, and so we see a lot of engagements. Just this week, I saw some feedback from someone who had done their honeymoon at, one of our properties in Grand Cayman. So, yeah, we see family reunions, yeah, weddings, and anytime people want to celebrate and be together, our collection is such a great opportunity for that, because like I said, you have that communal space to be together, and then the privacy to go of your own rooms, which oftentimes have their own terraces and areas where you can spend time alone as well.
And so let's do this, because for you and I to discuss it, we know exactly what we're speaking about. So let's spell it out, though. So someone has the opportunity to come across exclusive resorts, whether it's listening to your fantastic voice on this podcast or seeing one of your beautiful ads, whatever it might be, social media. They go to exclusiveresorts.com. Then what happens?
So then what happens, they would get connected with someone, from our sales team, who are just an amazing team of people who do a fantastic job of working with people to determine if the club is right for them. So, to join the club, a member would pay, an upfront membership fee, and then they pay annual dues each year based on, the number of nights that they're going to travel with the club, that membership year. And it's really as simple as that. And then, they join the club, they get connected with their, vacation ambassador, and they start planning. And oftentimes, frankly, through the sales process, a lot of planning is done, because, we obviously want to understand how does your family like to travel?
Right.
What kind of, are you a ski, do you guys want to ski? Are you beach people? Are you, more wanting to go culture and metropolitan? And that's really something that our team gets into, so that, we can really share, the various, either residences or experiences. We have people who come to the club because they're, so attracted to the once in a lifetime experiences, and the member events we talked about. They really want to do the safaris and the, US Open, or, whatever the activity might be. And we have others that really are focused on the homes. They might have small children, and it's just easier for them to, travel that way at that point in their life. But we really, we all want to offer experiences that, help a family throughout, the different life stages. And so we really get into that with a person who's looking at the club, and again, and then once they join, again, that's when the really deep relationship starts.
And then if, let's say, an individual, a couple, a family, they, going into a year, they anticipate, well, we think, we're determined to do X amount of travel days, travel experiences with exclusive resorts, and then they end up wanting to do more. Are they able to do that?
Yeah, we're always able to work with them to, they want to, get some additional days, book some additional travel that year. That's, certainly something that we can always do to help them. And frankly, their ambassador would be on top of that beforehand, in terms of saying, look, you're traveling 25 days with us. You have all 25 of those days booked. I know you really want to go to this destination, and it's open. Then, should we look at getting you some additional travel so that you can do that?
And I love this. And by the way, your PR person, he's fantastic. Yeah, I love him. And one of his great bullet points here that I didn't see last time when I was speaking with James is Well, there are a few great new ones here. Essentially, you get all the benefits of owning a second home without the commitment or heartache or headache of required maintenance, etc. That's a great bullet point.
It is a great point and very true. You know, I mean, and look, owning a second home, you know, can be fantastic, but it's a lot of work. You know, especially some place that you're not going to be a lot. You know, you got to make sure that, you know, depending on, you know, I look at, like, look, I live in Colorado. In Colorado, you got to make sure, you know, that, you know, the sprinklers are turned on or off because it's winter and things are gonna explode, and, you know, that the heat is on, and, you know, reopening and reclosing a vacation home every time you go there really isn't the funnest way to bookend a vacation.
Right.
You know, you have to, you know, get everything out, and you're doing laundry and you're doing all that, and really with exclusive resorts, you get to go visit these, you know, these homes that feel like your own and not have to worry about any of that.
Absolutely. And then also when you are going for the second or whatever, let's just say for the sake of conversation, that second home that is the quote unquote vacation destination, when you purchase the home, I mean, you're committed. It's like, okay, this is the place that we're going to be going. Yet with exclusive resorts, alternatively, we basically just purchased, for the sake of conversation again, a second home all over the world.
That's exactly right. We have a tagline that we've used historically called "Make the world your second home."
I love that. You should use that a lot. That's a great one.
Yep. So you nailed it. You nailed it right on the head. That's exactly right. You talk to a lot of people who own, you know, second or third homes, and there starts to be a level of guilt because, you know, they don't necessarily want to go back to that place over and over. And
But you
so,
feel
you know,
obligated.
you feel obligated. That's exactly right. And, you know, and we give them the opportunity to try new places. And it's not, like I said, I mean, you know, we have all different kinds of new places. You could go to, you know, Nantucket. You could go to, you know, Miraval and do a spa experience. You can go to New York City. You know, you can go to the Caribbean to go to beaches on St. Bart's or Anguilla or Grand Cayman. You know, or you come skiing at Whistler, or, you know, Telluride, or, you know, Vale. And so it's not just different places, it's different opportunities. You know, you know, you look at skiing, you know, there's obviously families that grow up skiing and there's many that don't. And I've talked to a number of member families who said, you know, all right, we don't ski, we're from Florida, say, you know, for example, our kids didn't, and we came and spent a week in Vale, and, you know, our kids learned how to ski and they got to
Right.
see snow for the first time, and it was just, you know, this amazing different experience that maybe even wasn't why they joined the club. You know, maybe they thought they joined the club because they wanted to go to beach destinations, but this was just too great of an opportunity and such a wonderful experience for the family.
Right, because when you join exclusive resorts, that's in the portfolio. So again, as opposed to just investing in whatever it might be, whether it's a second home or you know, whatever it might be that's focused on one specific area, just because that's what you know, with exclusive resorts, you're opening up all these doors to experiences that you just simply haven't had the opportunity in your life for whatever reason it might be, such as you touched upon, Sarah. You know, the way, you know, you grew up in Florida. It's what you know, right? You just simply don't know that you love skiing. Or even if you don't love skiing, you simply have an experience, as I've said to many people who, even if they don't want to get on the hill and ski or snowboard, you can go have an amazing time or life if you choose, like your brother, as you mentioned, in Aspen, and end up living there for years or being there a significant part of your life just by experiencing the town itself. And with exclusive resorts, you get to experience these opportunities that you can really no other way.
That 100%, and that's what's great about our on-site concierge and how they plan. You know, that this mythical family from Florida that we're talking about that comes to Vail. You know, maybe one of the people says, you know what, I don't have any interest in skiing, or, you know, because they don't want to try it, or they just have, you know, done it and don't want to do it. Well, they'll work with the concierge, and the concierge will get them. You know, we have residences at the Arabelle at Vail Square. Our in Lions Head Vale. Our concierge will get them set up with some amazing spa treatments. Will, oh, one day maybe you and the kids want to go do some tubing down the hill. It's a ski.
Right.
Maybe you want to do a little hiking, cross country skiing. Maybe you want to go explore the art galleries. I mean, there's so much to do,
Yep.
year round in all of these places that the concierge, because these are people who live in these destinations, they know the ins and outs. They're not just going to send you to the place you're going to find by googling what are the best places to go. They're going to send you to the places that the locals know, and and really introduce you to their town.
Oh, that's a very powerful point. And so the concierges, they each live in the destinations.
Yep, they are, yes, they are on-site concierge. So that, that's where they are. Oftentimes, they're people who have grown up there, and spent their entire life there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really a benefit because, like we talked about kind of at the beginning of the conversation, this immersive, desire to have an authentic experience when you're traveling, which has certainly, I think, become more important to people, in the last few years. That's really something that they can help with because, again, you don't necessarily want to go to Cabo and go to Senor Frogs. Not that there's anything wrong with Senor Frogs, but that may not be the experience someone's looking for. They want to go where the people who live there are experiencing things.
That's exactly right. And going back to our conversation on the comparison to exclusive resorts purchasing, say, a second home, is let's say you purchase that second home, and whether it's in Aspen or Vail or Telluride or it's in the Caribbean, you do that, and then it's still, once you've done that and you get to that spot, unless you've grown up in it and whatnot, fortunately, and really learned it, most of the time you haven't. It takes you a significant amount of time to figure out the local culture, to figure out where it is you should go, i.e. not Senor Frogs, and not that there's anything wrong with it, as you said, but going to those right places. What is the right beach? What is the right beach for me? What is the right, what are the right shops in the market? So to have that knowledge and experience built in is invaluable.
Absolutely, and the relationships. You're going to go to Mexico, and you or your kids want to learn how to surf. Again, there's 100 different places you can learn how to surf. Our team helps you to find the right beach for what you're looking for and the right instructor for what you're looking for. Because they're not all the same, and they're going to serve people differently. And so because our team knows you, and then they have those relationships locally, they can put people together, in a nice way.
Exclusive resorts simply is, as James and I discussed, and now further having had the opportunity to discuss with you, Sarah, and by the way, you, just as James is, are incredibly well spoken and enthusiastic about exclusive resorts, but it really is the most optimal means through which a person, a couple, a family, whatever it might be, can truly experience life. Really, I mean, that says it all.
It really does. It is an amazing way for people to experience their lives and the world around them with a team behind them that will be with them every step of the way, making every day they spend with us great.
Sara Whitford, Senior VP, Portfolio and Partnerships, and I simply love this, and General Counsel for Exclusive Resorts. Is there anything, I know you're beyond busy, and I'm very grateful for the 30 minutes now that we've had the opportunity to speak. I could speak to you all day. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have? Is there anything we didn't discuss that I didn't bring up that you would like to?
I think that the only thing that we haven't talked about, that just because of my role and not my general counsel role, that people always want to know about is sort of what's next, where are we going next, where are we focused in terms of our growth,
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that is we're very focused on kind of drive to domestic destinations in the United States, the Northeast, Northern California, areas like Nashville, Charleston, and Texas. Also very focused kind of on the opposite end of that on Europe. There's, a lot of demand after people not being able to travel in Europe for a few years.
Right.
A lot of demand for that. We brought some additional inventory on in London and Paris and throughout Europe, for our members this year and next, and we're continued to focus on that.
And you're constantly, and this goes without saying, but to say it, with respect to the incredible and exceptional individuals such as yourself that are keeping exclusive resorts what it is and innovating and whatnot, yet also with the team that you have behind you in Denver and then throughout the world, you're constantly, because you do care about your members and wanting to truly give these members that you have these amazing relationships with, giving them the best experiences. You're constantly evaluating and looking for what are opportunities that seem to be trends, or what are some opportunities that maybe they're not trends, but we just haven't thought of, and we need to explore and find these for our members.
That's exactly right. We're focused on current trends. We're focused on being ahead of the trends and setting the trends ourselves. We want to get our members out there experiencing the best there is to experience in the world.
Well said. I think during this podcast, I have written down more lines that you've used than I ever have. So thank you for that. And again, it's such a pleasure to, when speaking with you and speaking with James, the passion and the enthusiasm and that you have with exclusive resorts, that speaks volumes in itself.
Well, thank you, Judd. It has been a pleasure to speak with you as well. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Who knows? Perhaps our paths will cross in Aspen sometime when you're visiting your brother, who has had the opportunity to spend so much time there. Sara, again, thank you so much. exclusiveresorts.com, just like it sounds. Work less, play more. Life's too short for shit-haves. Have an amazing weekend, Sara.
Thank you. You too, Judd. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.